Okay. So now we're going to move to the other media section. Um, would you like to start, or should I?
You can start.
Okay. So, in terms of anime, I finished up Kazuya no Stigma, finally got back to it, and finished it up. I thought overall it was really good. Um, I would put it in my C tier, probably closer to the upper echelon of C, which is, pretty good, by the way.
Yeah, but I
It's
mean,
hard.
I liked it, but it was. It just fell prey to the average anime length and not actually covering the whole
Well,
story.
interestingly enough, the author died before he could finish his manga.
Oh damn!
Yeah, so the anime, I'm assuming, ended off where they thought was appropriate, where they wouldn't have to completely cut off the story. And so that's,
Wow,
that's
that's
unfortunate, but
wow. I didn't even realize that.
that's
That's even worse.
from what I gathered from my sources, I guess you could say. But anyway, C. It's hard to give a frame of reference of what C is because my C tier is so huge. It's like here I'm gonna pull it up. Like my C tier has like Black Butler, it has Air Gear, it has Claymore, it has Death Note, Naruto, Attack on Titan, Kill la Kill. I mean,
Whoa.
heavy hitters.
Naruto is only in your C tier? I thought it would have at least been B tier.
No, B tier. Like my B tier right now is like Shaman King, Gurren Lagann, Toriko, Bleach, Hitman Reborn, Kuroko no Basket, Kimi no Urameshi, Soul Eater, Street Fighter TV, Hunter x Hunter, Aquarion, Fruits Basket, JoJo, School Rumble, Aron, and Power Stone.
Whoa.
All of those.
That is your B tier?
That's my.
Then what the hell is your A tier?
My A tier is Dragon Ball series, Inuyasha, Full Metal, One Piece, Yu Yu Hakusho, Gundam, my AG Gundam.
Wow.
Yeah. My C tier is really large.
Well, as of now, I've made updates here and there. Like my top 10 at the moment is there's still One Piece, Dragon Ball series, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Then I actually put Naruto up at number 4.
Right.
Because I liked it. And especially now that I've been rewatching it, this allows me to showcase some of the things I liked about it. Number 5 is Gurren Lagann because just back a couple weeks ago when I rewatched it, I got to really think about the reasons why I just really love Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, well, as you can see, Naruto doesn't even scratch my top 10.
Yeah, I know.
At this point.
But number 6 is Toriko has moved up to number 6 because, as you know, it's still going on, so it has the potential to move up, especially with stuff that's been going on.
Yeah.
And then number 7, Dead Man Wonderland. 8, Yu Yu Hakusho. 9, Inuyasha. And number 10 is Fairy Tail.
Yeah. So that's what I watched this week. In terms of anime, just Kazuya no Stigma, because I finished it up. I wasn't really watching that much. I was more fixated on other things, which is what I'm getting to next is games, and that was obviously finished up LA Noire, my replay of that game, and AZX was magnanimous enough to buy Dark Souls 2, which we've been playing together and separate a little bit, and that's been a lot of fun and a lot of stress at the same time. As I'm sure everybody knows, it's kicked our asses and we've kicked it back. So
I will not be made a fool of by fucking bacon. Did you beat? Is that Dark Souls 2?
Yes, that's Dark Souls 2.
Did you go and kill those pigs?
I did with a gigantic fucking greatsword.
Did you laugh?
I did, and I said,
"Laugh hearty."
Bacon. So that game, as you guys probably know from the hype, not even just playing the game, the hype. The games are supposedly ridiculously difficult, and yes, it's quite true. But one of my gripes with Dark Souls 2 is with regards to the first one. Like Demon Souls, the very first Soul game was on New Game was largely difficult and partially unfair. And then once you got to New Game Plus, it was mostly unfair with some difficulty. Now the first Dark Souls was very good because it was mostly difficulty, very little unfairness. This game, I feel like, reverts closer to the original game, is a lot more unfair than it is difficult. There is some elements of legit difficulty, and legit difficulty I definitely enjoy in the game. And like the feeling of beating it after, successfully doing something right. However, there are also very unfair things in the game. Like, for instance, how much do you know about the Souls games, besides the incredibly difficult?
I mean, I'm not gonna play them, so it doesn't really matter if you say anything.
Well, I'm not. The only reason I'm asking is because of a concept, not for a spoiler. So basically, like, you rack up souls as like both money and EXP, and
I know. I know much.
If you die, you lose it all, and you can grab it. You can get it back, like if you touch your bloodstain. But there's this one part where you beat a boss, and on your way to the bonfire, which is your save point, there's actually a trap that can kill you in one shot. After you've beaten an extremely difficult boss, there is a trap that can kill you in one shot that you will never expect in a million years. And it pissed me off to no end.
And I'm guessing it happened to you and killed you.
Oh yeah, and it pissed me off to no end. And to me, that's not difficulty, that's complete unfairness. Now, difficult, I would say, is, something like some of those bosses are legitimately difficult, where you really have to manage your stamina, you have to manage your spacing, you have to manage how well you block or dodge with your timing and stuff like that. Granted, they can be cheat too, but that's besides the point. Anyway, so I haven't beaten that game yet, but I'm doing pretty well with the game. Getting pissed off. For those of you who played the game, I'm at the Iron Keep right now, so for, I guess, the first visit, so judge how far I am from there. I think I'm like halfway through the game or something. So that's been a big thing over the weekend, especially.
Well, that's also because when you played the other games, you were doing it over the summer.
Right. Yeah. So
you had more time over the summer.
Yeah. Well, this game's a lot longer than the other two, though. That's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. That's basically it for games. You guys know what I've been watching with television and shit like that, and the anime I watch weekly. You guys know all about that. What else?
Okay.
I think that's about it.
Any movies you've seen worth noting?
Oh, movies.
Since last week?
Did I just watch a movie? I think I did, but I can't recall if I did or not for some reason. I didn't watch any football this week. I didn't really want to. The Eagles had a bye, and I didn't really care about watching any football this week. So.
Yeah.
Down.
So yeah, that's it for me.
Mhm. So let's see. First, for gaming, I'm continuing to play Super Smash Brothers, trying to knock out all the challenges on the challenge board, like, because they brought that back from Brawl, if you remember that. Mm-hmm. But instead, it's 3 separate panels, and it's thankfully, I thank God that we have Game FAQ, because some of the I've only been able to do some of those thanks to Game FAQ. Mm-hmm. And they're like frequent, like they actually have a challenge guide to have, like, they'll like go through each one and says, okay, what do you have to do to unlock the space and get the reward, and then it'll tell you like a sentence or two of advice on how to do it. Like one of the things I had trouble doing was where like combos in training. Like it was saying, like, one was like get between all the characters get like 400 or more max combo in training. And another one was like for one character get a max combo of 100 or more. And I was like, how the hell am I supposed to do that? But thankfully I got some advice, and basically how you would do it is you pick a character that when grabbing can hit very fast. And the one in particular that I picked was Zero Suit Samus. And basically what it tells you to do is you set the damage to 999, and it allows you to hold on to them much longer. So it allows you to get like a combo of like 100, 110, something like that.
Got it.
So that was helpful. And then some of the other ones, there was a couple others I got, gave me help with. But I've gotten to that point where there's some of the more difficult ones that, like, like completing Classic with all the characters. It's not that difficult. It's just time consuming, especially since I'm not, well versed with every character.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still, and in fact, and then like the same thing, play All-Star with all characters, place first in Final Smash, and not Final Smash, Smash Run with every character, stuff like that. And like building up certain things, like getting a certain amount of hours of play in Smash, and certain amount of hours or a certain number of KOs in Smash, or stuff like that. Stuff that I have to spend time, building up. Now the most difficult one, of course, is play Smash for so many hours, because I think the one I have is like play 10 hours of Smash. Well, it's difficult because I'm not, playing there for a while, and it doesn't, like, obviously you can't sit there and just pause a fight and have it sit there for a while. And because this isn't a console game, I can't just plug in two controllers and say player 1 and player 2 against each other, and then set the like one stock battle and have them sit there for like a day, like, and cheat the system. But I also something else. But anyway, also I've made a up change to my favorite me character. You, Strider.
Nice.
And the change was I removed the hat, and then I equipped one of the new outfits I got, which was a fighter's uniform.
Nice.
So it has so it kind of makes him look, he has the boots, the fighter's boots, and the karate, the top with the belt around it. So it looks more like a brawler.
Nice.
So and of course I've also, some of these challenges I've done have unlocked, extra moves for certain characters. And so it's a challenge, of course, but it's fun. I just can't wait for my opportunity to play with all my buddies one day.
Yeah.
And the only other gaming news I have to talk about is enough information has come out about it for me to decide that yes, I will get it. On Thursday I put in my reservation for Omega Ruby.
Nice.
It was just, the content is it's nostalgic because I love third gen games. I only played Emerald, but it's gonna be but that generation was I really enjoyed, and at the same time, there's so much new stuff that it's and with all the new mechanics like the sneaking mechanic, which allows you to sneak up on a Pokemon that pops its tail out, and there's also like a search system that allows you to search for like a certain Pokemon in the grass that's available in that area, and the more you search, the higher it'll like level up the thing, and then at the highest level, it'll give you things like what level it is, what's its first attack, and things like its nature even, and its growth potential.
Oh.
So it's very interesting, so all of this combined will allow you to be able to find some of those harder to find Pokemon easier. And of course, there's that whole flight mechanic where you can fly around the Hoenn region and encounter Pokemon in the air, as well as legendaries.
Cool.
And it is being stated outright that if you between the third gen reboots and the two and X and Y, you will be able to complete an entire Pokedex.
Oh.
That's what they're saying.
Okay.
And of course, there's also the announcement of the two latest Megas, Mega Glalie and Mega Steelix.
Okay.
So yet again, an Elite Four member has a Pokemon that an Elite Four member has a Mega Evolution. Now each of the Elite Four members and the champion all have Pokemon that has a Mega Form. So which is helping to fuel the theory that everyone has that each of the Elite, this time around, the Elite Four and the Champion each have a Pokemon that Mega Evolves, and that they're actually going to Mega Evolve.
Okay.
The first guy, he was Dark type. He has, not only does he have Sharpedo, which got a Mega Evolution, but his main one was Absol, which already has one. And then you have the second one, which was Ghost, who has a Sableye, which is not her main, but it's the one that has the Mega Evolution. The third one was Ice, and it had a Glalie. The fourth one was the Dragon Master with Salamence, which had a Mega. And Steven has the Mega. Is presumed to have the Mega Metagross. But it's, I mean, it was probably inevitable. I knew eventually I was probably going to decide, but I guess, I felt it was, it looks good, and, usually at least once a year I get in a Pokemon mood, and it's usually because of the games that come out each year. I'm one of those suckers that always that buys the latest handheld Pokemon game.
Yeah, last one I bought.
But anyway,
Soul Silver was the last one I bought new.
Well, of course, because even though I really, the third gen region, the Hoenn region, I was most familiar with, but the best region was the best generation was the second generation.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's pretty much everything that has to do with the news in terms of gaming. More we could also talk about it. They briefly mentioned that there's a bunch of speculation going around about this mysterious picture that was posted for on the Smash Brothers website about this new mode, and it has like Master something and Crazy something, and it has like Master and Crazy Hand in the picture, but it's like the second part is blurred out, so you can't see what it is. But I heard that on Thursday at like I think 3 o'clock Pacific time, which would be 6 o'clock, they're going to have on YouTube a Nintendo Direct, which is going to announce 50 new things that we didn't already know about the Super Smash Bros. Wii U.
50?
That's what it says. 50 new things.
Wow.
And this, and everybody. So it's going to be interesting to see what it is. So I'll probably talk about that next week.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it for gaming. Now in terms of anime, the only thing I've been doing other than my weekly watching is Naruto rewatch. Now, since last week, I finished the Sasuke retrieval arc, which is a lot longer than I remembered. Like, I think it was like it was from like episode I think 107 to 135, almost 30 episodes. So I didn't even think that was that long, and that was, I mean, in terms of Naruto, I didn't realize I didn't watch any of the filler, but in terms of the canon arcs, they were all good. I think at least in part 1 of Naruto was all good.
Did you see episode 101?
Is that filler? I don't think so.
It is filler. It's episode 101, aka episode LOL.
And why is that?
It's the best filler episode.
Oh, well then maybe I'll have to go back and watch that. Because I just skipped over it because I wanted to get through that, because I don't really like the Naruto fillers. They weren't really that good.
That one is in particular. It's a one shot, one episode thing, and it's hilarious.
Now, of course, originally I was going to take a break before watching Naruto Shippuden, but what ended up happening was I finished the Sasuke retrieval arc on a day that I had work, and I don't write on days that I have work because I feel like I'm too concerned about what time I have to leave, so I can't really concentrate on writing, so I don't write. So I ended up starting Naruto Shippuden. So, and I'm on, last episode I watched was episode 29, and that was the episode at the end of the episode is when Naruto starts to form the chakra cloak when fighting Deidara. The Nine-Tails chakra cloak. So, and of course this is the only arc where Sakura is actually useful. So it was definitely fun to watch, She was actually relevant, She helped and was helpful. And Sasori was a good. I liked Sasori as a villain.
Sasori, yeah.
He was nice.
Johnny Young Bosch Sasori.
Johnny Young Bosch is a great voice actor, as well as a good Power Ranger. That's beside the point. And then there was of course that whole thing with the, Team Guy facing off against the clones. And then there was that whole BS that how they ended it with like, oh, well, they seem stronger because they don't get tired and we do. So the only way to beat them is to be stronger than we were 10 minutes, before. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that right there was like slipping into like fairy tale friendship BS type of stuff.
It's going into Gurren Lagann mode. We evolve beyond the person we were the minute before. Little by little, we advance a bit further with each turn.
As the drill turns each time,
That's how
we advance little by little. Which is kind of funny because it's hard to really tell. Like they say, like though they were like they're having trouble fighting, but like when you think about it, it's like okay, 10-10 and Neji probably. But when you look back on the fight, neither Rock Lee nor Mike Guy were using the 8 inner gates.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, they could have just been like 8 inner gates and then like just beasted it like that. Like they could have easily beaten them if they would have used the 8 gates. Obviously not going up to the 8 gate, but like like 5, or as in 5 for Lee, or maybe and then like 6 for Guy. But then there's no guarantee that the clones wouldn't have done it too. But I don't know. I just felt like that didn't need to be as long as it ended up being.
Okay.
And of course, there's that whole, I also don't see personally when I play the Naruto games, I avoid playing as the puppet masters because they suck.
Yeah.
They just totally suck. And in terms of the anime itself, it's like I feel like it's kind of like the only reason why it took them so long to defeat Sasori was because they had to avoid the poison, which I thought was stupid. It's like the poison was the only reason why it took them so long. If the poison wasn't a factor, they would have won very quickly. Maybe half the time. Well, maybe not half the time. Because, you had the whole thing with the fact that he pulled out the third Kazekage as a puppet, and then all the flashbacks learning about Sasori's past. Stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's, I like it, but, it was a good opening arc. It's a good opening arc for the, for part 2. I especially like the whole, seeing the fight between, the retesting of Sakura and Naruto trying to get the bells, and they get the bells by pretending that they're going to spoil the ending to his book that that Kakashi was reading. I thought that was pretty funny. So anyway, so yeah, that's what I've been doing in terms of anime. Now, in terms of TV, I already briefly mentioned about you know what I've been watching in terms of TV and weekly anime and whatnot. But they were in this past week. There were 3 movies of note that I watched, and all of them I watched because I rented off of Redbox. The first one I'm going to talk about is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now I'm not going to give a full-blown review because I already done that, and so have you on the forum. But basically, getting the chance to watch it again was fun because it was a very enjoyable movie. But of course, getting to see it again, you get the chance to, see, the certain flaws. But overall, it was still very worthwhile movie.
Yeah, Winter Soldier was
the other one. And the other movie, the second movie I'm going to talk about is Godzilla 2014, which, I believe I reviewed it on the forum, but, now that, it's been months since I've seen it and, the original hype went down, I can, you can see it for what it is. It's still a much better Godzilla movie than the one Matthew Broderick did in 1999. I mean, miles better. But it still had, its issues, It wasn't enough Godzilla. There was not enough Bryan Cranston. And the human characters they did focus on, the actors and the actor and actress weren't too good. For at least for those roles. But of course I can't. But I still can't. I still love. But the scenes that Godzilla is in are totally awesome. especially in the final when he uses his atomic breath. That's awesome. Now, did you get a chance to see Godzilla?
No.
No. So it's definitely worth watching, you know, especially since they already have a sequel, working on the sequel. Well, I mean, I think it was like after opening weekend, I think they announced the sequel because it did so well.
Gotcha.
You know, I mean, this after getting the chance to watch it again, I really got the sense that the way they did this one, kind of like a superhero origin story, because you didn't really see too much of Godzilla, but it felt more like you were setting up the mythos of their world and the Godzilla myth, the lore, I should say, behind Godzilla. So, I mean, yes, I would have liked more Godzilla, but it was kind of like they were spending the movie setting it up. So that way, like in the any future Godzilla movies they do with this Godzilla, they won't have to spend as much time setting up the lore, as far as we can tell. So now it'll be interesting to see what type of monsters he'll face off against. Will they bring back some of the? Because for this one they created new, or as far as I know, they created new monsters for this one. But people are hoping that for the sequel they bring back one of the classic Godzilla monsters, like Mecha Godzilla or friggin' Goldra or Mothra. Mothra is pretty popular. What?
Yeah.
And then of course it was also in the movie was that the one Asian guy that was actually of relevance in the movie was the guy who apparently was in a lot of the Japanese Godzilla movies.
Huh.
I forgot what his name was. Not like in the early ones, because those were like in the 40s, but like
I know.
I guess like 70s, maybe like 70s, and maybe like 80s and 90s or 70s. I don't know.
Yeah, there were a lot of ridiculous titles in Japan.
But there's like over like 50 Godzilla movies.
Something like that.
I mean, and it's not, and they're not all the same style of Godzilla.
No, not at all.
Like, now the last movie I'm going to talk about, I'm going to give a review for, because I haven't reviewed it on the forum. And I know what you're going. I know. So just sit back and listen and don't judge. And that is Adam Sandler's latest movie.
Judging now.
Blended. Yes, you're already judging. Thankfully, it's going in the completely opposite direction that he was going with Jack and Jill. Like, it's probably the best one he's done in the 2010s. Easily. Now, I'm sad to say that, yes, it ended up flopping in the theaters, but I actually enjoyed it. Now, I'm gonna say right off the bat, and I know you're gonna think badly of me for giving it such a high rating. I'm gonna give it like a 7.5 out of 10. And I'm gonna talk about two main points that are for it, and 2 points that go against it. Now, I'm going to start with the ones against it. The first one of the things I didn't like about the movie was how, because as the basic idea of the movie is that he has 3 daughters, and he goes on this blind date with a character played by Drew Barrymore, who has 2 boys, and by some coincidence they end up going on an African trip together, and it's romantic comedy, so the first issue is, of course, it's the same predictable plot of most romantic comedies, and that it was the predictable plot was an issue. Like some movies might have a predictable plot, but they at least put they try and varietize the plot enough so it doesn't seem as predictable, but it still is. But this one, it was still very predictable, which I mean isn't usually an issue for me, but for this one it was an issue. The other one was, as since you know it's predictable and you know that they end up falling in love with each other, there was a lot of it felt like they were like it was a lot. It seemed very the situations where they would where they would be they would conveniently have to get more intimate with each other. They seemed a little forced. Like, the one scene where they both book a massage and they end up finding out that it was a couple's massage, so they have to massage each other. That, like stuff like that felt kind of forced. And there was other situations like that were forced. Now, the two things that are going for it is, one, this movie actually had some heart to it. Because unlike his usual movie, usually the entire movie he's a man-child. But in this one, his character, yes, he's still for a good bit of time he'll act like a man-child, but not as much because he has the responsibility of raising 3 daughters. But the other fact is that he unlike Drew Barrymore's character, who is recently divorced from a husband who cheated on her, he suffered a loss of his wife who died from cancer. Mm-hmm. So he kind of has that, that part added to his character. So, which I actually liked because it added some heart to the film, which was lacking in a lot of his more recent films. The other one was the comedy. It actually, it was fun. It wasn't, the laugh. Unfortunately, in some of his most recent, a lot of his movies, it's more recent movies, I should say, they weren't as, they put a lot of jokes in them, but they weren't always necessarily funny. Mm-hmm. They tried to put in in Jack and Jill, which is his worst movie of all time. They tried to put in so many jokes in it, but it just didn't work. They weren't. A lot of the times they were just disgusting or just stupid and it wasn't really funny. But this one had a lot of good, legitimate funny moments. And in fact, they even had a bunch of good running gags. If you ever see the trailers, you see how Terry Crews in the film, mm-hmm. and in the trailers you see him at the front entrance when everyone comes in, and you see him dancing around and singing and whatnot with people behind him. But then that ends up becoming a running joke where almost in every scene you see him and the guy and the background dancers singing and dancing and not just be and they'd be singing a song about what just in the one scene where they talk about how the Adam Sandler's one daughter beats this one boy in basketball and then the boy's father says you suck, and then they all come onto the basketball field and start saying you suck, you got beat by a girl. Terry Crews and those guys, there was a lot of legitimately funny moments, but these also combined with the legitimately heartfelt moments that actually produce a pretty decent movie. Not one of his best, but probably one of the best he's done outside of his heyday. Which was the 90s.
Right. What I always found interesting about Adam Sandler is that when he does the romantic comedies, he gets a lot of the same girls. He's gotten Drew Barrymore in a couple, and he had Marissa Tomei in a couple as well.
Now, one of the reasons why this also worked was because this is the third film that him and Drew Barrymore have done together, and it's the third hit, in my opinion. Because the reason why is because out of all the characters that he's tried to have that his character is supposed to have chemistry with, he seems to have the most chemistry with Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Like Wedding Singer, great movie. 51st Dates, great movie. And a lot of that came from the good comedy and the chemistry between him and Drew Barrymore. Now, one of the funniest moments was a funny scene at a pharmacy where they actually make a reference to 51st Dates.
Oh my.
And before they go up to the counter, a guy is buying something at the counter, and he says, "Hi, my name is Tom." And then when she gives him back his stuff, he says, "Hi, my name is Tom." And then after they leave the store, he comes back up with something else to buy, and he says, "Hi, my name is Tom."
Mm-hmm.
If you remember that guy from 51st
Yep.
Dates. So, I thought that was kind of cool that they made reference to that.
Yeah.
But so in my opinion, like I said, I give it a 7.5 out of 10, and if you see it on demand or on TV or have a chance to Redbox it, give it a shot. Form your own opinion. It might have technically it flopped in the theaters, but honestly, I feel like it's good enough that you should at least watch it to give it your own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So. So, I think that just does it for my other media.
Alright, and then lastly, before we move on, is one thing I forgot to mention is that I am still streaming Final Fantasy X, and I'll be ending this weekend, either Friday or Saturday. We'll see, based on certain conditions. I'll let everyone know, and in the meantime, on Thursday we'll be starting a new game, and that'll be Dragon Quest VIII.
Oh.
And we'll also be starting a new game. That'll be done during the weekends after 10's over, and that is Breath of Fire 3.
Oh.
Yes, we're getting into the
Uh-oh.
going into the big guns now, and
Oh.
so if you want to check that out, it'll end up being like Tuesday, Thursday will be definitively DQ8, and then Friday and Saturday will end up being Breath of Fire 3, and so that'll be really fun. If you like either game, I mean, more people are gonna probably flock to DQ8 because that's more popular, but I personally like Breath of Fire 3 better. Besides that point, as always, you can watch it on twitch.tv/pentsage, Pentsage, and
Or watch the archives at
youtube.com/WereTigerX, WereTigerX, which is actually a reference to Breath of Fire 3. So there you go. And I guess that'll about do it for our other media section.